Webinar is now streaming live on Facebook, it says.
Welcome to, here we are. Welcome to the Leading Edge. My name is Cecil Bullard, and we are on episode 63. Today, we're going to be talking with BJ Lee, Mission Auto, Southern
Mission Auto Care
California.
in Oceanside, California. Yep.
Also with the Institute. BJ is my partner here, and we've worked together for, well, I'd say 35, 36 years now. A lot of sales stuff
Long time.
between the two of us.
Long time. Yep.
And we have Mr. Scott Castor with us of the Institute, who does our Service Advisor Mastery Program. He's in charge of that and trains service advisors, lots of them. Today we're going to be talking about sales. And here's the funny thing is I was reading the Lex, who does all of our marketing, sets all of this stuff up, often puts together a series of questions for us to kind of get started with. Her first question, I was reading that this morning and I was thinking to myself, man, that's a broad topic. What's the most important thing when it comes to selling service in an auto shop? What is the most important thing when it comes to selling service in an automotive shop? What a broad topic, right? First I'm thinking margin. Well, geez, we got to sell it for margin. And then second, I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, we can't even sell it for margin if we don't believe in our products and in our prices or ourselves, or, so Scott, let's start with you. What do you think is the most important thing when it comes to selling service?
It's very broad. Let me just start and say everything. Everything that the customer sees. But I would say that they got to trust you. I think that's probably, you got to be likable. Those would be the two that you got to have a presentable shop, a good reputation. So yeah, everything. How's that?
Everything. Yeah. So what's the most important thing? A lot of stuff, right? BJ, yeah. what would you do you agree with Scott that you got to be likable and they got to trust you, or
what I did is, because it's such a broad range, you think of so many things, you think, well, where do you start, right?
Right.
So I just kind of went down a list of quotes that I read that fit to all of this, right? It's no longer about interrupting or pitching and closing a sale. It's about listening, diagnosing, and prescribing what that customer needs, right? It's not about seeing what a great salesman we are. If we really are just listening to that customer, finding out what they need, and we prescribe the best method to get there, right? And we are establishing that trust and rapport with that customer, they're probably going to buy almost anything as long as they can afford to pay for it, right? So, I mean, that was such a great quote. And I read that really, once we start to listen to the customer, and we got great people that work on our staff that diagnose cars and stuff, and we prescribe the right method of repair or whatever they need for their vehicle, and they trust us, I think that just brings it together. You could really talk about this for a long time. There's so many things,
Well, Simon Sinek says that people don't buy what they don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So,
right.
In thinking about my own kind of career, I think passion is one of those things that you just got to have, right? You got to be excited about, hey, we're going to take care of this guy's car, and that's going to, and I think some mornings you wake up and it's hard to have that passion, but
Mm-hmm.
you have to have it. And I think, my why, what is my why? I'm taking care of that car because I'm the guy that's supposed to take care of that car. I'm the guy that's supposed to be the kind of the advocate for the vehicle. And I assume that my customer wants that vehicle. They want to maintain it. They want to make sure it's safe. They want to make sure that it doesn't break down, and they want to have value in it, for as long as they have it.
Right.
So I think that
believe what you say, say it with conviction and confidence. right?
Yeah, I mean,
Convey that to the customer.
so many of the service advisors that we work with, or that we get when we start, for sure, they're just kind of going through the motions, right? Hey, Mr. Customer, I listened to a phone call the other day, and customer called this shop, and they were looking for an alignment for their Tesla. So the customer says, right off the bat, the phone is answered with, hey, thank you for calling Bob's. Bob speaking, right? It's kind of this like, I don't even know if I have the energy to lift my arms today. And the guy says, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And the customer says, well, I'm looking for someone to align my Tesla. Do you guys align Teslas? And there was a 2-second pause between the customer ending their sentence and the sentence being picked up by the service advisor. And when the service advisor picked up the sentence, it was like, yeah, we do alignments, like kind of like just this. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, no pause. Second of all, yeah, we got a great guy that does Teslas at our shop. I mean, he's fantastic. Let's get you scheduled in, right? Right. I'm excited. This is a car that's going to pay my bills today, or right. That's going to get my bonus, or, whatever. But the service advisor was so disengaged that the customer, they ended up having an 18-minute conversation about, really not even about how do you align a Tesla, or our Tesla's weird and they got different shit, but just about Tesla alignment, just can we do an alignment or not? And I thought to myself, if I ever talked to somebody for 8 minutes about an alignment and didn't get the appointment, I'd go in the back room and probably shoot myself in the head, because, but it's this, do you really care about this or not? Do you care about taking care of your customer's car? How can they trust me if I don't give them the indications that I'm trustable or likable, right?
That's interesting, Cecil, because
that's the face of your, go ahead.
It's interesting because people pick up on the tone of your voice, and there's so many different ways that we communicate as people. You picked up on that right away when you listened to this phone call. It's like, oh my God, okay, obviously I called the wrong shop, and would be my immediate reaction if I called and somebody answered the phone that way. So,
and you
well, that person that's picking up that phone and answering that phone, that's the face of your company right there. That's the initial face of your company, right? They look at your website or look at something, oh, that looks great. And then they call, and it goes from up to down. It's like, no, you want to be happy and excited. You want to get them taken care of.
So I think that there's, when we put together our Advisor Mastery program, it was very difficult. We spent over 2 weeks, saying what's first, what's second, what's third. Do we teach them all the sales tactics first, and or do we teach them, about our unique selling proposition, or do we teach them about the numbers, or what do we teach them first? And what we went with is attitude, how you think and feel about, what you're doing. And why did we go to attitude? Because it just comes right through. I don't care if you're on the phone or if you're in person. If you were disengaged, so I called the owner of the shop. I said, tell me about this guy, right? Well, he's having a struggle right now. He's blah, blah, blah. I said, he's completely disengaged, completely, right? And if he's completely disengaged, how can he engage a customer? I don't know how, right? I don't know how you engage a customer, a consumer, if you're disengaged and not ready to go. There's so many ways.
How many times have you went somewhere to buy something, right? And you've had a salesperson that was so nice and such a great person, you didn't even really care about the rest of it. It was like, man, I want to buy something from this guy, or girl, or whoever it is, right?
There's this
attitude.
There's this little drive-through here, and on Sunday, there's a gal there that is the man's the drive-through. And I ordered the same thing over and over. So I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, she was like, I know who you are, honey, right? You know, and she started talking to me like
Yeah.
like she knows exactly what I want and order, because I order a little extra gravy in my biscuits and gravy, you know, kind of this thing. She goes, oh, I already got your order, honey. And then when I come pick it up, she has a smile, her eyes are sparkly, and you know, there's nothing sexual going to go on here. You know, she's not interested in me, I'm not interested in her, but the interaction is a good interaction. So literally, like every Sunday, I'm over there getting biscuits and gravy because that's when I know she's at the counter, right?
Yeah.
And I could go in a million other places, and the biscuits and gravy are good. They're not bad, but they're also not like to die for. But it's the interaction with the person that makes kind of the difference. And so for me,
And
that's like
they get the order right.
yeah, it's like yeah. And well, the first time I came in, I complained because you know the day before I got biscuits and gravy, there was hardly any gravy on the biscuits. I'm like, can I buy more gravy, or you know, how do I make sure I get gravy on my biscuits? And she was like, oh, don't worry about it, honey, we'll take care of it. And now I went in this Sunday, and she just said uh, I said I'd like 2 orders of biscuits and gravy. She goes, and that's all right, honey. You know, that was like, because that was she knows that's exactly what I ordered. And I was like, yes, ma'am. And you know, she's vivacious. She's energetic.
Yeah.
She's fun. And I mean, holy crap, you're gonna do this. Why not have fun, right? Or why not be fun? It's it blows my mind that you know for most of our clients in an automotive service business, the first real interaction they have with us is on the phone, and yet on the phone we don't seem to care, right?
Mhm.
You know, I don't have a good day every day, and you guys certainly know that because you know me. But when I'm talking to a client or a potential client, um, I'm changing my energy level. I'm changing you know, I'm interested. These are people that, you know, first of all, I care about the industry, and second of all, I care about the success of my clients, and third, I care about my business and, you know, my personal success. Um, so, so I don't know how do you tell somebody, what would you say? We'll start with BJ. What would you say to that service advisor, that person that's got to sell this person on bringing their car into the shop? What would you say are the most important bits and pieces of that?
You're talking about you're talking about what I tell my service advisor.
Yeah, what would you tell your guy? You know, about you know, the phone's going to ring.
It's going to ring. Well,
You will
okay.
just have dealt with a crappy customer, somebody who's doesn't
Well,
want to pay the
yeah,
bill.
I've worked with my current service advisor for a year and a half, but he took to it right away because he was naturally just a nice person. You know what I mean? You know, but basically put a smile on your face before you answer the phone, because if you put a smile on your face and you get that energy, that's step one, right? And then listen to the customer, find out what it is they're really looking for. You know, not what's about price. You know, well, what makes you think you need this? What is it that you're looking for? Try to find the solution for them and try to get that appointment, get them in. You know what I mean? But really, the first thing you want to do is have a smile on your face and have a good attitude and be energetic when you answer the phone. That's the first thing. I know that if I call somewhere and I don't get that, I'm just turned off right away. I just don't feel like that person cares about me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So if I feel that way, I'm sure other
How
people feel
fast does
that
that
way.
take you to figure that out, BJ?
What's that?
How fast does it take you to figure that out?
Well, when I was young, it took me a while. I'm pretty thick-headed, but
Like, like a second?
it's pretty simple now. Once you go through this a little bit and you lose enough sales and you get, you don't build your business because you're not listening to anybody and you think you know everything. It doesn't work. But it's actually a pretty simple thing to do. If you can't do it, you're probably just the wrong person for the job. You know what I mean? I think it kind of comes naturally. I think, you can tell pretty quickly if somebody's got it or they don't got it.
Do you think
Sometimes you can change people and make people better, but I just think, some people are meant to be salespeople.
Yeah.
do you think that people get worn out from it? You know,
Definitely.
I don't know. I was behind the counter for 17 years to 24 years. I spent a lot of time behind the counter during that period. And, you call after call after call. How much for a water pump? How much for a oxygen sensor? How much to do my brakes? Um, you, it,
I don't want to do it.
yeah. But do you think there's like a
I've done it.
point where I think you have to like regroup and take some deep breaths and say, man, I need to be exciting today. So how do I do that?
Right.
Without chemicals.
I think by having your team meetings, that does help, right? If we see that start to happen, then we kind of get together and we excite each other, do stuff within your team. Sometimes we do certain little team building things outside in the shop. We pitch quarters for $50 bill, little things like that kind of get you pumped up. You know what I mean? Because you do get the burnout. I've done that for years. And I think what happens is if you've been a service provider for a period of time, when you get to that burnout stage after doing it for 20 years, you're just like, just once you've met your accomplishments and your goals that you think that you've done that makes you happy, and it just becomes sort of maybe for me boring, I mean, I do it when I got to fill in and I put that smile on my face, and all that, but I don't know that I could do it long term again, if that makes any sense.
Well, I think you've done your time at the counter. I don't know that I became an owner because I didn't want to be at the counter. I became an owner because it was the next best thing that I could see for myself. And I had to spend some of the time at the counter when people weren't there or, when people were off. But in general, I wasn't at the counter and I haven't been at the counter for a while. But I can tell you, I watch terrible service. Our local Ford dealer, I'm surprised they sell anything because the service is so bad. The people, you pull into their drive and they got this old guy out there, probably my age, and he's like, "What do you want?" And there's no smile, there's no sparkle in his eyes. This is a guy that's just been, he's just been beaten down and they gave him a little bit of authority and now he's just gonna, go over there, leave your keys in the car. And then you go into their service department and they got 4 guys and there's 4 guys standing right there in front of you, not 6 feet away from you. And they don't look up from, nobody greets you. Nobody says, "Hey, good to see you here. I'll be with you in a few moments." Nobody. And you stand there for like 15 minutes. The last time Kent did this, he actually walked out and called them and said, "Oh, now I've got somebody I can at least talk to. And so, hey, do you think you could take care of my car like you're supposed to?" It's just,
Wow.
and when somebody's had that kind of an experience with you, I mean, I see it everywhere I go. I see pretty girls everywhere. No, anyway, that's a different. I see it everywhere I go where there's just, I just don't give a crap, right? Service. And I got to tell you, I think you want to sell more stuff, create some energy there. I don't think you have to be, over the top or whatever, but I think you got to smile. I think you got to care about that customer and getting to the bottom of that customer's issue. And as
Be a genuinely nice person on the phone,
yeah, just be
act
nice.
like you really care,
And by the way, if you did that, you would beat 90% of the other people answering their phones in the world, or at least in the United States. I guess I can go that far. Um, so this is a sales thing, and we're talking about sales, because I think if you don't think I care, or you don't think I'm interested, and I'm not engaged, I don't think I can sell you anything. I mean, if you're desperate and you're stuck and there's nothing else, my water pump, we had the car towed in. Okay, be an asshole to that person, because they're stuck. They're not going to take their car and tow it somewhere else, probably. But, for someone that isn't stuck, if you're not excited about them being there and you don't act like it matters, then they're not going to come to you. You're not going to have the opportunity to work for that person. I used to
Treat
like
them all the same. Like if they're a tow-in or somebody calling in and wanting to bring their own part, we treat them all the same.
Yeah.
Treat them all with respect, right? They may not be a fit
No,
for
I'm-
us, or maybe
I'm
they
not-
will be, but
and
we'll
I'm not
determine
gonna
that, you know?
I'm not going to let you bring your own part, but you're still going to
Right.
think I'm a nice guy. You're not
Right.
going to think that guy was a real jerk.
Right.
So sales, is there an easy way to increase sales in your business? Scott, what's the easiest way to increase sales?
I'm probably doing good, thorough inspections and presenting those inspections and our health check on the vehicle, presenting that to the customer. Stop giving stuff away.
Get rid of your discount stuff and put that money in the bottom line.
Yeah,
Market to the right type of customer,
there you go.
right? Market to the right type of customer, get the right people in the door. You know, we can get lots of people calling and calling in and wanting to bring their car in, but they may not be a good fit for us. So if they're not a good fit, we're not going to sell nothing.
We have a PDF coming out, the five ways to increase your bottom line. Should be released any moment. Frankly, it's going to be really good. And then we'll have a class behind that, all of which will be no charge for people that would like to see that. So that'll be good. For me, the easiest way to increase my sales is to put a smile on my face and act like I care, like it matters. At least you'll get the sales from the people that are there and that come in your shop. Should sales be the focus of the business or the entire team? Should sales is it their responsibility? Is it everybody's responsibility? Is it just the service advisor's responsibility?
Everybody's
responsible.
Everybody's responsible.
Yeah.
So how does that? So my owner and I used to argue all the time. The last shop I worked at, I was the manager. I had an owner, good friend of mine. We used to argue all the time about things like this. He wanted the service advisors to be held accountable for the marketing because he felt service advisors were a big part of marketing and advertising. And I always said, they do have a part in it, because if they treat my customers really well, then my customers will be speaking well, etc. But they're not really in charge of advertising. And we used to have this kind of back and forth that we did all the time. And so, how does a technician increase sales in your business?
They can keep their work bay and their work area clean. They can pick up the parking lot. I mean, that is a whole package of doing business at your shop. It's clean. They show that they care. It all radiates to the bottom line.
If my technician is disengaged, what is the ultimate result of a disengaged technician? Okay. So does he do a good inspection, right? Or not? I mean, how many times have you guys had a technician tell you there's a lot wrong with this POS and I don't think we should write it up, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's a problem with it.
Well, I think that all falls in line with now here, right? If we've got good management, right, and we're having good management meetings and team meetings, and we're bringing all this stuff up and helping them to understand understand the reason why we do the inspections and what the importance of that inspection is, right? What the importance is of having the shop clean and organized, what the importance of the proper inspection and documenting procedures are. All that stuff comes together, and we all have to agree that that's important for the benefit of the customer and the business itself, right? So if you have a good team and everybody's following the rules and doing what's supposed to be done, that's going to help sales. It's going to make your customers happy, right? It's like Scott said, when somebody drives up, when they first drive up to your shop, they can see in your shop and they see that it's neat, clean, and organized. Everybody's in uniform. They come in, they get greeted nicely at the counter, treated fairly. They've gotten a ride home. They've gotten the digital inspection sent over to them. They've got a phone call to review that inspection and recommend whatever need to be done and why and what the warranty is and all that kind of stuff. All those things, is just the whole picture that all has to come together. And I'm sure sometimes we fail at one piece of it, right? But it's up to us to catch that and get it back in line, to our company values and what we're trying to do out there. If you've got, you drive up and the place is in disarray, and there's a guy out there smoking outside the door and there's oil leaking all over and, the place is filthy. I don't know what type of customers you're gonna bring in with that, but not the ones that I want,
I was at
I can guarantee most customers would be paying attention to that, especially a new customer.
Right. I always talk about customers like dating. It's been a long time since I've been on a date. I've been married for coming up on 40 years. But I remember dating, and when I dated, I took a shower and I put on my best clothes and I put on what I thought was my best cologne, combed my hair. When I picked her up, I opened the door for her. I took her to a nice restaurant, didn't put my elbows on the table, didn't pass wind in the car. In sales, to me, the idea is I want to show the best of us to that customer and that potential customer. And I always want to show the best of us. I don't want to give them any room for doubt. And to me, I think about staging. Like if you're going to do a production, a movie, what's the staging look like? And I think our shops should be staged. We have the ability, we have the opportunity to set up a stage and create an environment that is either good for our sales, or it can either add to or take away from our customers' comfort level, right? And I want my customer to be extremely comfortable in my business.
It reminds me of, I always think about this. You and your father had a shop back in the early 90s. And this older lady drives up right in front of the shop, right? She gets out of the car and she stands there with her arms crossed and she's looking inside the shop and says, "This is where I want to have my car worked on."
Wow.
Right. And I said, "Really? Why do you say that?" "Well, look at this place. You can eat off the floor." It was like clean, organized, that kind of thing. And it's just something that I've always been proud of. And that's, the type of image that I want to portray to my customers.
And I think the guy that wants to come in and bring his own parts and, wants to argue about price and wants the cheapest shop in town, he doesn't care much about that stuff. But I think the customer that wants to have a relationship, that is more willing to maintain their vehicle, listen to, the advice of the shop, that it matters for them. Maybe not all of them, but I think most of them. Think about going into a restaurant. There's some restaurants that I will not go into. There's a steakhouse here in town, and we had a big family thing at it. Now, this is probably 10 years ago, but we took a bunch of people there, and I wear leather shoes. So my soles on my shoes are leather. And when I was walking around in there, I was sliding because of the grease on the floor. It was like they had like it's a log house kind of thing, but the floors were so greasy that I had to walk like I was walking on ice.
Wow.
And it was a place where, you know, it's a $40 steak, which is not the most expensive I've ever had, but in Utah, in Ogden, it's a pretty expensive steak. And we haven't been back. I haven't been there in probably 10 or 12 years since that particular thing, because somebody wasn't paying attention. And if the floors are greasy, what's the kitchen look like? Right. And
Mhm.
it just puts these doubts in your mind. Let's talk about, so my team needs to focus on sales. Now, obviously the team does what management asks them to do. And you said it, BJ, I need good management. And I think part of that, at least, is the managers paying attention to the attitudes and watching occasionally someone answer the phone. Are they up? Are they, I bought mirrors and put in front of all of our phones in the shop, so
Right.
that people could see their faces when they answer the phone. Um, so if the manager, the owner, is not up, how do the other people get up, right? And give that presentation. I guess we're supposed to talk about objections. Now, we've just spent the first half an hour kind of talking about, I think, attitude, and staging, and I think even my attitude is staging. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I have my good days and my bad days, but when I'm talking to a client or a potential client, I better be excited about what's going on here. Let's talk objections, at least for a few moments. Scott, you're dealing with the service advisors. What are the typical objections that they're hearing?
It depends on the work order, but you know, a $4,000, $5,000 work order on an American-made vehicle, I'm going to go buy a new car. I'm tired of putting money in this whole thing. I don't have enough money. I mean, I would say my car's not worth it. Those would be good. The most, I guess, the most popular objections that we would get.
Okay, BJ, how do you handle the car's not worth fixing?
Well, it depends. If the car is falling off the frame because it's rusted through, that would be a different conversation. But I would say that's mostly not the case, at least in our area, right?
Yeah.
But you know, you want to try to go through them with, you know, why would you say that, right? And go through the idea of, you know, you've got this 10-year-old car that needs $4,000 of work. Now you understand, if you go buy something else, you know, you're going to go spend X amount of dollars for this car, and you don't know what kind of shape that car is going to be in, and it's still going to need to be maintained, right? So you're still going to maintain it, and then you're going to also have payments on the car, right? So try to work with them on that. I've had several cases where I've mentioned the idea of having the payments, right? So you got payments of, I don't know what a normal payment would be nowadays on a used vehicle, probably $300 or $400 a month. I mean, there's your $4,000 in 1 year, and it's pretty easy to make that choice to not buy another car. Now, if you're going to buy a new car because you want to buy a new car, hey, you know, we do it, right? That's okay. You know, but if you're going to go another used car, I might have an issue with that and want to try to explain the reason why that's not a good decision. You know what I mean? If money is, you know, they don't have the money to do it, then we try to lean them towards, you know, credit options that we have available to them and try to work with them that way, you know. So we get quite a few jobs just because we offer credit to them, you know, through different companies.
One of
Yeah.
the things for me that I think about is how many used car inspections I've done, and what
Mhm.
what does the average used car inspection look like when it's all done? And I can tell you, I don't think too many used cars came through my shop that didn't need $3,000 worth of work.
That's
You
a pretty
know,
good number,
the
right?
way that
Yep.
I see it, if my customer is thinking, I'm going to get rid of this car and go buy another used car, that's just a bad choice, because
Right.
I don't know what that used car is like. And they're going to bring it to me, hopefully, and I'm going to look at it, and then I'm going to hand them a list of $3,000 worth of stuff just to make that used car, viable and bring it up to, up to code, I guess, whatever you want to call it. And then we're still not going to know, what's going on. We had a Mini once that came in, and the customer bought it used, and it had this weird electrical issue. And we ended up pulling the back panels, the inside of the back, to track some stuff down. And you could see where the water had been, it had a water line in the trunk, in the back part of the vehicle. So the vehicle was, 30–40% underwater. And you just, at that point in time, you just really have to tell the customer, don't spend another nickel on this thing, get rid of it, because it's going to beat you to death over time because it's been underwater. We had 2 years ago, we had a major flood in Houston. They said something like 1 million cars were underwater. And then at the same time, we had another flood on the East Coast. There was another 1 million cars. So 2 million cars, basically, the insurance, pulled off the marketplace. And I was driving through Houston, and they had this giant car lot. I mean, there was probably 30,000 cars parked in this field area. And then the next time I go through, those 30,000 cars are gone. Where did they go? Right?
Repair shops.
Yeah. They went on used car lots. They went to auctions. They went to Mexico. They went to other states. I don't want my customer buying a used car unless I get to see it first, and I really don't want to buy a used car at all. To me,
I think sometimes when you go through the math with them and just let them know, what would you expect to pay for a used car? Well, this much. Okay, great. If you did that, what would the payments be? Great. And then you've got to maintain it. Now, let's just say you needed some repairs. You didn't need 3,000. Maybe you only need $1,500 of repairs, right? To get it up to the par, plus your maintenance and your payments. You start putting those numbers together. They kind of like, wow. They just don't think about it, right? So it's up to us to help educate them and help them learn.
So in your experience, though, because I know if we have some service advisors on right now, they're going, well, they'll never listen to me. I won't have that conversation. Have you had that conversation with customers, and have customers really listened to that conversation?
Yes.
Who's that for, Cecil? Me?
Either one, both, right?
Yeah. I like BJ said, absolutely.
Yeah. I've had people say, I want to get rid of it and buy another car, and you try talking them out of it, basically, and tell them it's not a great decision in your eyes as a professional. And no, I'm just going to get rid of it. Great. You know what? I'm interested in buying the car. Would you sell the car to me? Right. And then they start thinking about it. Right. I mean, I've got a car now that 2012 Kia SUV, fully loaded, that bent 6 valves, so I bought the car for $500. I've got about $1,500–$2,000 in the car, and I've got it for sale for $7,000.
Yeah.
It's a great car. You know what I mean? It was,
it could have been driven another 4 years, right? I mean,
yeah, exactly. But they just made the decision, and I think the husband, probably would have fixed it, but the wife wanted a new car, so they bought a new car. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And they still come to us with all their other vehicles and stuff. So
I think one of the other things that I have to think about is I'm not going to win all the time. So, I'm just going to have the conversation, and some of the time my client's going to listen, and some of the time they're going to buy the stuff on their car, and some of the time they're going to get a new car. And that's okay. I still believe, I don't believe ever buying a new car is what's best, financially speaking. Now, by the way, I've bought a lot of new cars. I think I've bought 5 or 6 in my lifetime. And I like a new car that doesn't smell like anybody else has ever driven in it, until about 2.5 years later when I'm still making payments. And then it gets kind of old pretty quick. But I think we need to remember that sometimes we're going to win, sometimes we're not. And I think sometimes service advisors take the no's way too personally, and they let it affect their moving forward. So Scott, so I'm going to get rid of this car. The car's not worth it. What are your comebacks to that?
Are you going to buy a new car or a new used car? I want to know that. And we're going to go back to the used car thing. Why is it on the market if it's a used car? If it's a good car, if somebody should be driving it. If they're going to buy a new car, I went out looking at trucks a couple weeks ago. Now, I don't know if anybody's been out looking at trucks lately, but the 2500 Dodge Ram that I was looking at was $75,000.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hadn't been out in the car lots for quite a while. So just driving that truck off the lot, you're losing probably 10% of its value right away.
And you're going to pay $5,500 in taxes in most states, right? So
and you're going to have full coverage insurance, which is going to be, more.
It is. It's going to be twice as much as what you might have on your old pickup.
Mhm.
And I'm driving a 2013 Ford F-150. We got about 80,000 miles on it. It's got a couple scratches. But it's in pretty good shape. And yet I've driven by the Ford. I've looked at a couple of Raptors. And then that $85,000 price tag was like, no, I'll drive the old truck, right? It's insane what people will spend on something because I can't convince them to take care of the car that they have. To me, that's.
Well, just on a side note, Cecil, just to let you know, the 2021 Ford F-150 came back with the 5.0.
Oh, really? Sweet. I might have to get one.
Yes. Because I know you were worried about the 2.7 and 3.5,
Yeah, I don't
think the 2021.
Now we bought that Explorer that Kent's driving, and that's got a 2.3, and it's got all kinds of get up and go. But no.
Right.
All right. So back to the objections. BJ, what about you? What do you think are the top objections?
I was talking with my service advisor about this yesterday. Price was quite a bit of an objection when I first took this business over 18 months ago. Now it is minimal because we've marketed to the right type of customer.
Okay.
Right.
I want to make it really clear that when you bought the business average repair order was very low, and the customers that were coming through were not used to paying anything. They were used to getting their oil changed.
Correct.
And on they go.
Correct.
Okay.
It's funny because I went through numbers, previous year's numbers. They were working on something like 3,500 cars a year, right? Average repair order like $180, $190. Last year, we worked on 1,036 cars, right? With a $670 average repair order.
Okay.
Right. So we've done the same amount of revenue with a third of the cars.
And actually made more money.
Right. And this last year, I mean, currently I track every month, 50% of our customers are new customers and 50% of our customers are returning customers.
Okay.
Give or take a, few numbers or whatever, but that's pretty average, so we've really changed that model. The second one we were talking about was customer parts, people calling, wanting to bring their parts in. Now, in our area, we're next to a military base. So we get a lot of the young guys that, they have these cars and trucks that they want to buy parts, online. And then if they can't do it in the hobby shop, they want to bring it to the shop and bring their parts in. We get quite a bit of that. But, it's all about talking about company policy and why it's not in their best interest to bring their parts to have them installed. One is that we don't do it. And secondly, you don't want to pay to do this job over and over because the parts are the wrong parts, improper, counterfeit parts, all the other things that go along with that, and warranty, so Jared does a real good job working through that and convincing them that the best thing to do is to bring them in and let us take care of the vehicle. You still have some that aren't going to do it. They just want to take their parts somewhere and have them installed, but we just don't do it.
I need shoulder surgery, and I've gone online and found some shoulders pretty cheap. I'm going to take them in and have my doctor put them in because I can save 4 or 5 grand by buying my own shoulder.
Oh, nice.
I can do it for half of that, Cecil.
Could you imagine, right? If you're like, oh well, I bought it online from a reputable place. Here's a shoulder I want you to put in. What the doctor at the hospital would just be like,
It just looks like the one. It looks just like the one you were going to sell me.
yeah. So and then you get it in, and it's got the clunk, clunk. Uh-oh, defect. Got to go back to the doctor, get a new one put in. Our industry, we need to understand that we are the professionals and that we need to act like professionals, and our customers need to respect us like professionals. And part of that is I'm getting the part that I'm going to put on your car because I can warranty it, because I can guarantee it'll fix the problem, because I can stand behind it. And then the other part of that is I have to make the money off of that part. If I don't make the money off of that part, I lose half my gross profit, and I can't pay my bills. So, it's just part of the game. It's how the game is played today.
We have done pieces of that, only if it's an older vehicle, something where it's forever to ever try to find the parts is impossible, and then they found it. But we do it. We have an increased labor rate when we do have to do that. Like I said, it's a very, 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 very slim part of what we do. You know what I mean? But if we do it, they've got to pay that extra cost for it.
Yeah, I've done it with some older cars where that was just impossible for me to get the parts. But pretty much that is my only exception. I've done it a couple times where I had a really good customer that went out and bought the part, and I knew it was a reputable place. And I said, this one time I'm going to do that, but afterwards, I had a restaurant that was kind of across the street, down about a half a block from the shop. I used to eat there all the time. You remember, BJ, at the industrial. One day I was there, and the owner said, "Hey, can you tune my car?" Back when we did tune-ups, and I said, "Sure. Well, I'll take it back with me, and we'll get her done." And he said, "Well, the parts are in the trunk, right?" Kind of thing. And I was like, "Well, we don't use customer parts." I said, "Where'd you get them?" And he said, "Magruder Chevrolet," which was the Chevrolet guys, not very far away.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, I can't tell them they're crappy parts. He bought them from the Chevy dealer. Back then, the Chevy dealer only handled the, top line parts. They didn't have 3 different part lines." And so I told him this one time I'm going to do it. And then we did it. We fixed his car. We took it back. And the next morning I showed up at his restaurant with a brown bag, and it had 2 eggs and a couple of raw pieces of bacon and a couple of pieces of bread and a potato in it. And I handed it to him, and I said, "Could you cook this up for me?" And
Yeah.
he took the bag, and he made me a breakfast, right? I don't know if he cooked that stuff exactly, but he made me breakfast and brought it to my table. He goes, "Okay, I understand. I get it," right? I think one of the important things about selling is enjoying what you do and being engaged and having fun. And I think things like that at least make it fun for me. And it's got to be fun for the staff and the people that are going to handle your customers. Otherwise, you're not going to sell as much. Now we have, I don't know if we have, like I have in our service mastery program, our shop advisor mastery program, we have a section that is, I call it stacking the deck. That's the title of the section, but it's actually 3 separate sections that are all about things that will make us better at what we do, right? Keep the customer more interested, that kind of stuff. And I think we need to be thinking about stacking the deck. And part of that is keeping the place clean and, et cetera. We got a comment from someone. It actually didn't come in on Facebook. It came in. But he said, "My biggest objection is I'm only price shopping, or I'm only looking for a price." What are your top ways to convert that person who says I'm only price shopping?
Well, we know that when they're asking for price, it's most of the time it's because they really don't know the questions to ask, right? So what we do is why is it that you're looking for price, and why is it that you think you need this particular uh, part or whatever repair done, right? And then we kind of divert them, pull them away from that, try to get them to come in. Let's take a look at it, because what we wouldn't want to do is give them a price based on just a little bit of information when we need a lot more information to give them an accurate estimate, right? So have one of our certified master technicians to look at your vehicle and see what it really needs, and we get you an accurate price for you, you know. And by the way, we have a 3-year 50,000-mile warranty on the work that we do here, and you know, sell the whole benefits of coming in and doing business with us. Some of those you just won't turn away. Some of them are not going to get off the phone unless you give them a price, and if you don't give them a price, they're going to hang up anyway.
And
Right.
I still won't give them a price myself, but, and
Right.
tonight
Right.
at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, we're teaching a phone sales class, being good on the phone. And so
Right.
you can find that at gearforshops.com. I got to tell you, we're going to cover a lot of that in tonight's class. I think about, you know, with this particular thing, I think about all the cars that have come in my shop for all these things that they thought they needed. And once we actually looked at the car,
Mhm.
a lot of that stuff was not necessary or needed on the car. I mean, I've had independents and dealerships where the customer was told they needed something when the car got to us. You know, you need brakes, and we look at the brakes, and the brakes are 70%, and we can't figure out why they recommended brakes. But then the ball joints
Mhm.
were falling off the car, right? You know, so it wasn't what we thought it was or what they thought it was. And how many times that's really happened. So I have a
Right.
what I call an arrow or kind of a script that's like, well, you know, we deal with a lot of people coming in. They've had their car diagnosed by their brother or their cousin or their, you know, their mechanic somewhere. And when we get the car in, my guys are so good that frankly, a lot of stuff that they've recommended, we just don't recommend. But unfortunately, there's some other things that they've missed that my guys will catch that are important. And so we just think it's a good idea for you to get as much information as possible before you make the kind of financial decision. And so let's get the car in
Mhm.
and get it inspected. You know, you keep constantly shifting to let's get the car in and get it looked at. I think in sales, if I'm trying to deal with this person on the phone, I need to have the right attitude about that. And and so for me, I'm not going to price on the phone. I'll tell you how much my oil change
Mhm.
is after I ask why you think you need one, and then I'm going to
Mhm.
schedule you in, or I'll tell you how much our diagnostic is, but I won't tell you what it takes to put a water pump on your car. Um, I love it because you know service advisors are overwhelmed with everything going on, and someone who you know I'll have 5 cars lined up where I need to do estimates on these cars and sell this work so my guys can get busy, and the phone will ring, and I'll spend 20 minutes arguing with this guy about a water pump price. Then I'll hang up the phone and I'll call and get prices on a water pump and call the guy back 20 minutes later. And he's already found some idiot to tell him what he thinks he wants to hear, which is it's cheap. And he won't even listen to me. And I still have 5 invoices sitting on my counter that haven't been estimated. You know, why would you do that when, you know, the odds of being successful are minimal? I just don't think it's a great idea.
You know, just all you can give us the menu item pricing that you have, and that's it. You know, beyond that, we've got to find out what they really need and try to, you know, divert to the appointment.
And I would say that most customers are not really looking for a price. They're really looking for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Do I feel comfortable here? Is this guy sound like he knows what he's talking about? Does he sound like he's going to be honest to me? You know, those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things. And if I'm paying attention, I think you said it at the very beginning. It's really about kind of listening to the customer and I would say guiding them to talk about what's really important to them. And that would include asking, you know, what's important to you? You know, is it really just how cheap it is, or do you want a quality job?
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Right.
think most people understand cheap is cheap, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean good. Um, all right. So sales, what's the best thing to do? If I could only do two things right now, what are the two things that I do to improve my sales? Start with Scott.
Put somebody at the counter that is likable.
Get the right person talking to your customers.
Yes.
I've seen the service advisor make all the difference in the world in a shop. And we have a lot. We even have clients where I look at their service advisors and I go, this guy isn't going to get it done. You know, you just, after a while, you just pull the trigger. I know it's painful. Get somebody in. I'd rather have somebody that's naive, doesn't know a lot, doesn't know anything about cars, but has good energy at my service counter than the guy that knows everything about cars but is kind of jaded. I don't want the jaded guy anywhere near my customers. Scott, you got to give me one more. So get the right person at your front counter.
And what are we going to do? We're going to increase sales. Is this what the question's about again?
Yeah, sell more to people.
Do excellent inspections and present everything to the customer.
So every car gets a ticket written, every car gets inspected, everything gets estimated, and everything gets presented.
Yes.
And I think some of the shop owners, and I'm just gonna speak up for them. I'm supposed to be devil's advocate here, but wait a minute, won't my customers think I'm trying to sell them a bunch of crap because I give them a list of things? What's your answer to that, Scott?
No, I think it's our job to tell them what's wrong with their vehicle or what their vehicle needs. It's our job to tell them what's good with the vehicle too. So it's our responsibility. When you go to the doctor tells you what you need, what's wrong. They're bringing their vehicle to us. If they don't want to hear it, then maybe they're not the customer that we're looking for. But every car that came into my shop got inspected, and they had a health check, and here it is.
And I think that, you know, when I took over the last shop I ran, I was able to raise the average repair order by like 600. We were at 904. Prior to that, we were like 280. And that happened virtually overnight. And so I went to the service counter. But if we hadn't had good customers that wanted to take care of their cars, I couldn't have sold $904 to them. Here, Tom just bought a shop. We know Tom from Shade Tree. He just bought a shop in Ogden with $180 average repair order. Last month, their average repair order was over $650. And what the clients are telling him is thank you. He's not chasing people away. The people are saying thank you. You're helping me take care of my vehicle, which is what I wanted. And some shops, you know, I'm so jaded on trying to sell somebody anything that we just back off so much that our repair order goes to hell. I think good inspection is probably one of the top things that will help me sell. Having a good relationship with my customer, having somebody at the counter who can be excited and help the customer feel good about being in the shop. BJ, what do you got for us?
Put that smile on, right? Got to have that smile. Number one. And then always have constant communication with your team, you know, as a service advisor with your technicians and stuff like that. So everybody's in clear communication. Everybody agrees on what we're doing and why we're doing it. You know, so there's no disconnect between anybody. All those things working together is going to help you increase your sales. Because we present and share our numbers with our staff and our team out there in the shop too, so they understand what the goals are and what we're trying to achieve, and these are the reasons we do the things that we do to get there, you know. And then we share those the benefits of that with everybody.
And we haven't talked about car count and adding more cars, because if I don't have the right attitude, the right person at the counter, if I'm not engaging, if I don't smile, you know, if we don't inspect cars, why bring more cars in? Right.
That's exact conversation I just had, because you know, in the first, I don't know, probably 10 or 12 months, you know, I could have advertised heavier and got more cars in, but I had to make sure I had a great team together and that everything was working smoothly before I started adding those cars, because I didn't want to piss people off. Right. I want people to come in. I mean, now we have, you know, quick diagnostic, quick turnaround. You know, we're building a good really good team now. And now we're working to build our car count now that we've got everything else working smoothly. You know what I mean? So, there's so many things like we talked about in the beginning of this meeting here that, what's most important, all of it. Right. Um, but I don't know. I think you're right, Cecil, when you talk about putting a mirror by the phone, smiling. If he's smiling, got a great attitude, that's going to be a big, big factor.
I always like to have a few jokes in my head so that I'm almost laughing when I'm picking up the phone already because I'm thinking about
Right.
that punchline. Um, and then of course I like to entertain myself, so that's part of it. All right, we're at the time that we could talk another hour easily, but we're not going to.
Right.
We have a really, I believe, the most advanced and the best service advisor program, our advisor mastery program. You can find that at gearforshops.com or at iforabe.com at the Institute. Scott is in charge of that program. We're seeing 9% increase in gross profit. We're seeing average repair order increases around $150 with our students. And what I like best is we're seeing a lot more confidence in our students when they're at the counter. And I think that that's something that sells and makes customers happy. So we'd love to have you there tonight. We have a hour and 45-minute, 2-hour service advisor class. It's all about phone and phone sales. I think it's going to be probably the best class I've ever done on this stuff. A lot of good content there. Again, you can find that on gearforshops.com. Thank you for attending. And Scott, thank you for your time, buddy. Good to have you. And BJ, you also. So with that, we're gonna wrap it up. Have a great week, everyone.
Great. Thanks, guys. Have a good